Yo, what's going on, dudes? Hopefully everyone is doing okay. Welcome back to the channel. So we are back outside Cupar Motorcycles because today we are on the iconic Suzuki Hayabusa.
Today's video was made possible because of Cupar Motorcycles. They have a great selection of new and used bikes as well as all styles of riding gear to help keep you warm and safe throughout the year. Whatever it is you're looking for, Cupar Motorcycles can help you out. They also do nationwide delivery on all of their stock, including their motorbikes. They also have professional mechanics on site to help keep your bike in top riding condition. If you're looking for that new ride for the summer, pop in and see them. If you're not able to visit them direct, you can give them a call about any of their bikes and they'll have it delivered direct to your door. I'll leave all their details and social media information in the description below.
So we are on the Suzuki Hayabusa. This is the latest model of the Hayabusa. So this thing has lots of tech on it, lots of electronics and stuff to make sure that you're safe when you're out on it. And obviously not everybody likes to go, you know, super aggressive all the time. So this bike's got a little bit for everybody. We're going to take it for a wee ride first. We'll pull up somewhere, have a wee look about, and we'll talk about some of the specs. So the first thing I'm noticing about this bike is just how easy it is to ride. You know, it's a 250 kilo plus bike, so it's a heavy old bike coming in with a whopping, I think it's 188 brake. It absolutely pulls like a train. You have 3 different modes. So we're in B mode just now with traction control set on 5. So it's not super aggressive. I'm in 6th gear, and as soon as you just pull on that accelerator, the thing just goes. My God, it is ridiculously quick. If you've never had a chance to ride the Hayabusa, whether it's a new model or not, go and ride it. Go and ride it. Oh my God. So this bike also has the quick shifter installed. You know, there's no effort needed. You don't have to kick it or anything to make it go. It is just nice and subtle. The riding style, even though it's got the more kind of sporty riding position, you know, I prefer the upright kind of straighter bars. It's actually really comfortable. It is really nice. And my God, that sound when you open it up is, it is lovely. The dash isn't too intimidating either. I know it looks like there's a lot going on there, but there's not. You know, it's fairly straightforward, it's easy enough to read. You can pick up on whatever you need fairly quickly. You're not searching for it, you know, you're not looking about the dash trying to find it. Everything's basic, you know, which is nice. I mean, overtaking is not going to be hard on any bike, you know, engine size dependent obviously, but with this thing it is just, you know, you just indicate, pull out, and before you know it, you're past whatever you're passing. It's just that quick. In the last review we did of the GSX-S 1000 GT, that was a fast bike, but this is something else. Oh my God, it is ridiculous. I've never experienced power like this in a bike before. And the nice thing about it is we've got it set in mode B just now, so it's not the aggressive mode. So the power isn't, you know, it's not torquey as hell where it feels like it's pulling you back, but it's super smooth. You know, your body just doesn't move, you feel so planted on it. I mean, it doesn't matter what gear you're in. You could be in 5th gear, 6th gear, if you twist that accelerator, this thing's going, man. This thing is not going to hold back. So about the brakes are really, really good. But I suppose with a big heavy bike like this, with this much power, you've got to have good brakes on it, man. You need those brakes. You need that braking power. And this thing definitely has that. The mirrors are actually really bloody good. They're so good. I'm getting so much information from them. But with a lot of bikes that I've ridden, you kind of have to dip your head out a wee bit, you know, to get a look in the mirror. I'm not getting that with this bike. You know, I can adjust the mirrors a wee bit and I can see the road behind me very, very clearly. So whether there's something a couple hundred meters behind me or right up my butt, I'm going to see it. Oh man, I'm not a fast rider, and you know, I don't feel the need to go fast a lot of times, but it's bloody good fun on this bike, I'll be honest. It is a lot of fun. You know, I'm being sensible about it, of course. You know, there's a time and a place for that sort of thing. I don't know how well the GoPro's picking up the exhaust on this thing. So nice. First impressions for me are everything on bikes. There's just something about the Hayabusa, man. I don't know what it is. It's like, it's the everybody bike, you know, regardless of what kind of style of rider you are. If you sit on a Hayabusa and have a wee shot, mate, you're gonna love it. In terms of the riding position, yeah, you are kind of leant over quite a bit. You know, I don't know if I'd like to be upright on this bike. I just don't think it would suit it. You know, you need to kind of get down and behind the visor a wee bit. So the riding position is a bit more aggressive than what I'm used to, but it's not uncomfortable by any means. You know, I think if you decided to go and do a little tour up and down the country, you could do it on this bike without any problems. It's got enough power to do whatever you want, probably more than you'll ever need. One thing you have to take into account if you're going to be doing any touring or any riding on this bike, if it's the first time you've ridden a bike like this before, is it is very long. It is longer than what I thought it was going to be. It is a long, long bike. I mean, there's absolutely no need to shift down. You just twist the throttle and the bike's like, yep, I got your back, dude, don't worry. For as fast as this bike is, the one thing that I'm absolutely loving about it is it's not intimidating. You know, it's fast, but it's very smooth doing it. You know, it's not like it's, you know, it's nice. You know, it's such a great riding bike. As for the miles per gallon, I'm not too sure. You can change it all and stuff. We'll do that once we've stopped. I'm not going to be fiddling about with stuff while I'm riding. So when it comes to the electronics on this bike, there is quite a lot. You know, it's not that there's a lot of different electronics, there's just a lot of the one thing. So for instance, like the traction control, there's 10 different settings, you know, or in fact 11, because off counts as a setting, you know. So you have it off where you can choose from 1 to 10. I would never have this bike with traction control off. There's just no way. It also has anti-wheelie on it as well. You can change that, of course. You can change the settings on it. Same with the power mode. We're in mode B just now, but the PW, the power, that's set at 2. You know, so obviously that's something else you can adjust. Right, so we're going to stop down here for a wee minute and we'll have a look about the bike. I'll show you around it, we'll go over some of the specs. So there she is, the latest Suzuki Hayabusa. I mean, personally for me, I think the black and the gold is, oh, that just looks so good. Some basic specs of the Hayabusa. It's 1340cc, which is a pretty big bike. And it's a liquid cooled 4-stroke 4-cylinder engine. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I like the exhausts. I mean, they're a bit in your face. They almost look like luggage bags, you know. But for me, they're just a wee bit too meh, you know, because the design of the Hayabusa is, I think it's an absolutely lovely looking bike. And I would have liked to have seen exhausts that match the bike a little bit better. I mean, they're not ugly, they don't, it's not the case that they don't go. But for me, it's just, yeah, it's just, there's just two big pieces of metal on the back of the bike. That's the way I'm looking at it. You know, I would have liked to seen a little bit more design going into it, but I'm just saying, you know, that's just personal preference. For me, they do what they need to do. I would have liked to see maybe a little bit of a sleeker look, you know. I suppose you could get aftermarkets for it, I guess. But, yeah, the standards are a little bit too big for my liking. But apart from that, they sound bloody awesome. I'm not going to go through every single spec on the bike just now, but I will leave all details down in the description below. You can go and check it out, and I'll put some up on screen just now for you to have a wee read through. It's got the massive Brembo discs on the front, which for a bike like this, you need big brakes like that, don't you? In terms of the fuel tank, you've got about a 20 litre fuel tank. I'm not too sure on the exact mileage you'll get on that. It depends on the rider and what mode you ride it in and how you ride it. So I've just got the height and the width up here on my phone because we're talking about the length of the bike when we're riding over here. So the overall length of the bike is 2,180mm, which works out at 85.8 inches long. That's a long bike. And the curb weight is 264 kilos. So I knew it was about a 260 kilo bike. There's a lot of specs that I've not gone over just now because there's so much on this bike. But what I'm going to talk about just now is the dash. Alright, so this is the completely opposite end of the scale from the 1000 GT that we rode. Because the 1000 GT had sat nav, you could connect your phone to it, you could do so much stuff. The Hayabusa, it looks kind of intimidating when you first look at it. You know, you've got basically 4 dials with an LCD screen in the middle. Rev, speed, fuel and temperature. That's all you really need. And then obviously you've got your mode switch, so you can switch between different modes. You know, you could put it onto mode A, so that basically takes the traction control down to 1 and the power down to 1, so you've got pretty much full on aggressive mode there. Now if you wanted to, you could change that. If you wanted full power, put it on A mode, but say you wanted to put traction control on just to kind of give you a wee bit of a safety net, you know, you could do that. Or if you wanted to, you could change the power as well. What you can do is you can switch through to, you've got U3, U2 and U1, and that's user. So if you have a set preference in the way you like to ride this bike, say you like to ride it in mode A, but you like to have traction control at 2 and power at 2 or whatever, you can save that, so then you're not always having to go in and, you know, adjust it all the time. But if for instance you went on to the presets, so if we have preset, let's just have preset A, put the traction control at 4 and we'll put the power at 3. Alright, so you decide I'm going to go out and ride like that. Now if you didn't save that in a preset, switch the bike off. When you switch the bike back on, that preset will revert back to factory settings. Because it's a preset on the bike, if you wanted to save it, you'd have to go into the user. So this will pop up in a second, and you can see the traction control and the power is reverted back to 1 and 1. But I've been riding it in mode B, and it's bloody fast, so I think I'll keep it in mode B. So mode C is more for, you know, if you had like a pillion passenger or you were riding in bad weather or whatever, you put it on C so you've got lots of traction control and stuff, you know. Or again, if you wanted to, you could turn down traction control or whatever, you know. So it's nice and basic to use, you know. Even though there's a lot of electronics on it, it's not overwhelming, you know. There's quite a few things, but there's lots of numbers of the same thing. So like we said earlier on, there's like 10 settings for the traction control. So that trip we were coming over here, we were getting 40.1 miles to the gallon. You know, you can flick through, see how many miles you've done, how many miles you've got left, all that sort of thing. So it's really simple and basic, you know. It's not, you know, overwhelming at all. You know, you could jump on this thing, set the mode you want, and then you might never have to touch it again. You'd be quite happy with the way it is. So there's enough there for everybody to suit the kind of riding style that you have. You know, if you want to be a bit more careful on it and just take your time, and you don't want to be super aggressive, you can create your own user setting, whack the traction control as high as you want, do all that sort of stuff. You know, the bike's never going to wheelie, it's not going to skid about, you know. Or you could be the completely opposite end and you want to take this to the track one day, stick it in mode A, turn everything off and go absolute nuts, you know. So there's lots of options there for everybody. So I'm just going to keep it in mode B today. I'm not going to be riding on aggressive modes or anything like that. I'm not going to put it in mode C because that's giving us a slightly more subtle ride. So B to B seems like the sensible option. You know, the B preset anyway, seems like a sensible option for just doing normal everyday riding. And it's not very often I need to kind of get my head down, you know, but it feels like that's the best way to ride this bike. You know, once you start applying the power, get right down behind it and just, oh man, go with it. In terms of wind protection, it's not too bad. You know, the screen's not the highest. I don't know if there's any aftermarket screens for the Busa or not, I really don't know, but you know, I'm finding the wind protection that I'm getting absolutely fine. You know, I'm not getting blown about. It's not like my head's getting rattled back and forward with the wind or anything. You know, you could quite happily sit on the motorway on this thing you know, doing 70 and you'd be absolutely fine. I mean, so far, to be honest, there's not really that much that I don't like about this bike. The only thing that I'm not that keen on, like we spoke about, is the exhaust, but that's just personal preference. Oh my god, dude, I honestly can't get over how easy this bike is to ride. You know, it's super easy to ride. You know, to be honest, when I was coming over here this morning, I was a bit, you know, oh god, right, I better be careful with this bike. And of course you have to be careful. You've got to be careful, you know. And of course I am being careful, but the one thing I'm noticing is that you don't have to worry too much about the bike being hard to ride, because it's not. You know, anybody could jump on this bike and ride it, you know, as long as you're in the right mindset. You have to make sure that you're aware that this is a bloody quick bike, you know, if you decide to ride it like that. But you can sit at 60 miles an hour without a problem. If you need more, it's there. If you need less, absolutely. So of course, again, you know, the standard stuff, you know, the clutch lever, front brake lever, they're all fully adjustable, you know, so if you need to change them because of your hand size or whatever, or if you decided to put on a set of grip puppies like what we were talking about the other day, and you had to adjust the levers for whatever reason, you know, that's not an issue. It's very, very comfortable to ride. You know, I'm noticing the leg position, it's a little bit more kind of cramped than what I'm used to, just because of the riding style. But again, it's not uncomfortable. You know, first impressions, the seat's very comfortable, and I could sit in this for hours and hours and not have an issue. And it does come with the quick start as well, so there's no need to hold any clutches or anything like that. You just touch the button and away it goes. I absolutely love the sound of this thing. Oh man, it's such a nice sounding bike. It is super, super smooth. I mean, it is silky smooth. As for my feet, I can almost get both my feet flat on the ground with this bike. You know, it's not like I'm struggling or anything, you know, and I'm 5'9", to give you a little bit of a reference, and it corners like an absolute dream as well. Oh man, what a great day for it. What an absolute great day to come out and ride a Hayabusa. I was totally doing 60 there. Oh my god, I got to 60 so quick. I mean, to be honest with you, this is one of those bikes where I ride and I feel really confident on it, because I've got a lot of confidence in the bike. You know, it is just that easy to ride. This isn't really the riding position that I tend to go for. You know, I kind of prefer the more upright bikes. But I don't know, man, this is comfortable. And it's fast. So in terms of speed, what can this bike do? I mean, I'm not too sure what the 0 to 60 is, I didn't really look into that, but on paper it says it'll do 188 miles per hour. I mean, that's just mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, I'm sure in the right hands, 0 to 60, this thing would do it in, you know, a couple of seconds, easy. I mean, taking this thing to a track for a track day, oh my god, it would be so much fun. When you're changing these different modes, you know, it's really just making the bike more subtle, you know, so things like throttle response and just how aggressive the engine is, it's just taming it down a wee bit. That front brake is super responsive as well. It is just so good. So in terms of owning this bike, you know, obviously I can't give you an answer for what it's like to own long term, but honestly, if you're ever deciding to go for a Hayabusa, you know, take every other bike out of the equation. Let's just say that you're not thinking about any other bike, you're only thinking about, I want to own a Hayabusa. You know, you're not going to be disappointed, dude. There's no way you can be disappointed with this bike. And I absolutely love this thing. You know, it is such an amazing bike to ride. Yeah, there's a few wee things here and there that would change, but again, that's just personal preference, and it's mostly cosmetic and things like that. A wee shout out to Dave at Cupar Motorcycles as well. He did say to me this morning, he says, you'll enjoy this, this will be an experience, and he is not wrong. I mean, I'm getting pretty good miles as well. I mean, my range, it's not really changing that much. It's maybe going down by a mile an hour every so often. This thing will go for absolute miles and miles and miles, I'm sure of it. Obviously, if you're riding it in the aggressive mode and being pretty aggressive with it, obviously you're going to get a lot less miles out of it. If you're just taking your time and, you know, just riding it like any other bike, yeah man, this thing's just going to keep going. One thing I'm finding about it as well, just something that I'm not super keen on, is just the placement of the indicator switch. You know, again, that's something that you will, you know, you'll get used to that. You know, that's not something that's going to, you know, change your mind about buying a bike. You know, absolutely not. But I have found myself go to change and I'm going, oh, hitting the horn or something like that, you know. But just getting used to having to raise your thumb a wee bit to indicate. But the controls are fine, they're nice and easy to use. Again, it's not the kind of thing that you can accidentally push a button and it's going to change it to aggressive mode or anything. That's not going to happen. You know, you've got to cycle through stuff and change it, you know. So you're not going to accidentally push a button and end up in the wrong setting, so you don't need to worry about that. So I definitely recommend the Busa. It really is one of the nicest bikes I've ever ridden, and it's not just because the thing's a rocket and it's got more power than you'll ever need. It is genuinely really easy to ride and super smooth to ride, and I'm sure you could go 2 up on this if you decide to go up and down the country or whatever. You know, that's definitely not going to be an issue with this bike, and it's definitely not lacking the power to pull 2 people, that's for sure. Absolutely love this bike, it is so good. But it is time for you to go home. But make sure to go and say hello to Cupar Motorcycles. I'll leave all their details below for you to go and look through their stock, catch them on social media, all that sort of stuff. And if you're ever in the area and you want to look at some phenomenal bikes, drop in and see them. But anyway dudes, hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you have, guys, give it a thumbs up. I really do appreciate every single one of your likes. And of course, if you want to see all of my uploads, click on that subscribe button and ring the bell while you're there. That way you get notified every time I upload a video. But until next time dudes, stay safe, ride safe, take it easy.